Hello, I'm Chuck Martin, and this is the Voices of Tech Future. With me today is Amir Hoss, CEO and founder of Eagle. Amir has been co-founder and chief operating officer of GenEcho Energy Solutions, co-founder and CEO of Teame, and strategic advisor at IEMS Group. At Eagle, Amir focuses on bringing AI-enabled automation into a key part of the trucking industry. Welcome, Amir. How are you?
Thank you very much, Chuck. Great to be here, and thanks for having me.
So tell everybody what Eagle is, and I want to go way back on this because you've been doing this for a long time.
No, thank you very much, Chuck. So Eagle is a AI automation platform powered by computer vision that leverage existing security cameras in logistic facilities in any large distribution operation, whether it's a large retailer, large consumer packaging good, food and beverage manufacturing, transportation, to truly automate all the shipping and receiving process. We call it within the four fence. So from the gate to the dock and vice versa. So our scope of work of automation and digitization and data orchestration start from the time a truck entering a facility all the way they go to a dock to unload and load and vice versa. And so that's where we operate and we automate.
Before this technology, how does this work? I'm not familiar with trucking. I assume they go to a gate and they check in with somebody.
Exactly, exactly. So it's surprising, like you think in the era of AI, you see a lot of fancy stuff when you go to this manufacturing facility, and that's my background. I'm coming from automotive and automation background. But when you get to the ground and get your hands dirty and you see the actual operation, you see that yeah, it's still pen and paper and a lot of human. So in a check-in and check-out and shipping and receiving process, per every distribution center, you see up to 30 people involved in that process. So it's a
Right.
very rudimentary and inefficient process. And up to 30 people, it's over a three-shift process because all of these facilities are high traffic. You see between 200 trucks a day all the way to 1,500 trucks a day. We have facilities that we operate. And and there are people that check in and check out. There are people confirm shipping and receiving. There are people that on walkie-talkie talking with each other and issue work orders. So it's a network of inefficiency that is happening in that piece of the operation, which is happened to be one of the most important part of the operation that dominates all the claims between the entities because that's the shipping and receiving.
How did you pick trucking?
Very, very good question. So my background is automotive. When we started Eagle, we using existing security cameras and so I'm giving you a little bit of history of how we started. And so we leverage existing security cameras to track um, objects and people, and we say things in a high pace, high throughput environment. And we are very popular for our tracking algorithm. And so naturally, as since you work with security cameras, so you get pushed, the product get pushed to focus on more of a security application and automation around the securities and access control. One of the and so at the beginning we started working with one of the largest globally largest grocery retailers in North America, and they asked us to look into a problem that they have at the gate and in the yard, and they didn't want to. They wanted to automate. They wanted to remove the human from the process because human causing inaccuracy in data entry, and that way they wanted to improve the quality of data that going into their system. And so we look into it. We learned that whole process from them. We shadowed their process, and we built this product for them originally. And this is back in 2021, 2022, and then 2023, we moved that beyond that retailer, and since then we've been servicing. If you look at retail, CPG, food and beverage, we cover the top 5 to 10 of that category in North America.
You didn't really start by saying, "Hey, the trucking industry has an issue." There's someone came to you and said, "We have a problem." Is that correct?
Yes, exactly, exactly. And full transparency, we learned this whole thing from that retailer. Like we shadowed their process nationally in perishable food, in temperature controls distribution centers, in high velocity distribution centers, in rapid distributions, from their suppliers to their distribution center, from their distribution center to a store. So we shadowed that whole process. And it was a joint project between the transportation and asset protection. And we learned that whole challenge that they have. And the challenge summarized in four categories. We call it TLCC, time, labor, claim compliance. So imagine you have between on average 500 trucks a day coming to every distribution center, and you spend 8.5 minutes up to 16, 17 minutes per every check-in process.
Why
And
is that?
that's just at the gate. Now forget the yard inefficiencies and at
Why
the
is it?
dock.
Why would it take so long?
It's a human 100% relying on human at the gate. So they have a staff at the gate. They come out with paper with a clipboard, pen and paper. They start talking to the driver, collect the information from the driver itself, collect the driver paperwork, go around the trailer and collect those information. Now, at the end of the day, they just log this information. They didn't even validate. And so and that was the problem. The problem was that you input and unvalidated information into a system that the system have to make a decision down the road into the warehouse management system and all that. And that never happened. And because over last 20 years, they've been doing that, and the data became so unreliable. Apology for my language, it says garbage in, garbage out. And they stopped using that approach. So nobody basically using the data. It became sort of a norm of, yeah, we have to just log the information, but then the data was no use. And so our first step was, okay, what's the source of inaccuracy? Is the manual entry. So let's remove that manual entry from the equation. And that way we we can improve the accuracy of the input data. And so we provided a camera at the gate to provide data scanning. We provide a mobile application and a kiosk for driver to input the information. We provided integration to the telematics system in the truck to pick up some of the information directly from that telematic system that is in the truck. So combination of all of this, camera, driver application, the kiosk, and integration that we provided to the telematics system, to the transportation management system, to the warehouse management system, or yard management system, allowed us to really collect all this high quality data, accurate data, and then perform the check-in, check-out process, including the validation. So now you solve the login problem and you solve the validation problem at the same time.
When you were doing the evaluation with that first company, one day did the light bulb just go off and say, "Oh my goodness, this is like crazy business the way they're doing this. We can totally change this," or is it just very matter of fact? Oh yeah, we can just make this better.
You brought up a very good question. So at the beginning, so they were one of my existing customers. In fact, they were my second customers. Uh, and at the beginning, we just wanted to do it because we didn't want to say no to that customer. So, but then when we start exploring and really we spent 6 months shadowing that process, and then I started talking to other customers about, hey, we're solving this problem for this large retailer. We're assuming that you have the similar problem. And then we learned that, wow, it's a 2 or 3 years old problem that really became a priority post-COVID. The problem exists, but it was never a priority. Post-COVID and the e-commerce boom and the supply chain growth that we saw over the last 3 to 4 years really made this problem a priority. This problem has never been a top 10 priority, but over the last 2, 3 years, it is one of the top 3 priorities. The whole Yard of the Future initiative, it's a top priority, and we cover two of the most important element of the total three elements of the Yard of Future initiative within each one of these large organizations. And so when we learned this, that light bulb moment was like, yeah, we should focus on this. And the other interesting point is that you're familiar with our market. It's we call it intermodal market and inland market. So there was and there has been players doing similar thing in intermodal, in the ports and container depots and rail yards. But when it comes to inland, there was no serious player at the time. So we see ourselves as the first player and the first mover and the market leader. And there's a differentiation here. In the intermodal market, it's dominated by containers which are standardized. So when you look at a container number, it's always in the same slot and it's always in the same format. But when you come to the land, it becomes our trailers, which we have access to some stats that says 75% of trucking companies in the US have less than 10 trailers and 10 trucks in their fleet, and 20% of them are just one truck and one owner and operator. So that became a very, very fragmented market with no standardization. And so a technology that can collect that information in such a fragmented market with no standardization becomes sort of the winner. And so we were able to solve that. And so hence the first mover advantage that we have in the market.
Talk a little bit about the status of AI, because AI has come a long way. I mean, since you started the company a long time ago, I mean, like 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
The AI was, I mean, that was even before ChatGPT or large language models. How has that evolved with your business? And has it changed it a lot with cameras and so forth?
Great question. So when we started a company, we were in a sort of another inflection point on AI, but on the computer vision. So sort of 2018, around 2018, 2017 was sort of an inflection point for computer vision application. And so and that's why you see a surge of companies in computer vision coming in different use cases. And so we are one of those that started around the same time back in 2017, 2018. And found our niche market, and we're focusing on that. So we are a product of such an inflection point. And now, to your point, we see LLMs and large language model, whether on video or other forms. So they obviously expedite. So we are not 100% relying on those, but certainly we are incorporating those into our product development. They obviously make our product development much faster. We are seeing up to 30% faster delivery in our product roadmap. We are seeing that. We are seeing a significant improvement in building training model and the data sets that we have. I think that's been helping a lot. So these are the areas that we take advantage the most. But where we are unique at is that the core AI model that we are using and the core fundamental model that we originally developed ourselves, and they are our own proprietary model, is still generating the best result compared to closest best off the shelf or VLM or LLM. And I'm talking about plus 30% difference in accuracy that the customers are expecting.
Is it primarily computer vision that you're utilizing?
So our core competency and the core product is computer vision, yes. And I call it reality on the ground. So it captures what's on the ground, the reality on the ground. And then it sends it to the cloud for all the integration and orchestration that we do between a warehouse management system, a yard management system, or a transportation management system. And so consolidate all the information and then provide that validation to the customer. And to your point, yes, the core of that and the base of that collect reality on the ground is cameras.
Did you ever think you'd know this much about trucking?
No, I could never imagine that how exciting is the truck. In fact, it's funny when any employee or partner or advisor we bring on board, after they meeting us, they say, you know what, since we met, every time I drive in a freeway, I'm just keep looking at the truck numbers. So it made it an unsafe scenarios for our employees when they drive in freeways.
For your computer vision, did you have to train your computer vision to learn a lot of things before it became effective?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we process around 500,000 trucks on a monthly basis.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a lot because we and this is across US, Canada, and we're so proud that now we're expanding globally, so we're seeing a lot of variation. So the data, obviously, the more data you have, the more successful the model is, the more adoption the model is. And so a combination of real data, synthetic data, and the vast access that we have to different variation of data in different industry, from a fancy distribution center that is very clean and it's for e-commerce to a dirty mining facility in north of Canada. So we cover a very wide range of type of operation. And so that allowed us to get access to a very large volume of data that is very, very helpful and has been very helpful in us understanding the ecosystem and how we should approach in training the AI models that can adapt to different environment and scenarios.
In the trucking and the yard check-in industry, were cameras sort of standard before anyway?
Good question. So yes and no. So cameras has been a standard, but not enough quantity. So we leverage existing security cameras as much as customer have. Now, if they don't have, there is no, they can simply add more camera of the same type that they already standardized across their yard. So we are not a hardware solution. We are here to leverage as much as existing infrastructure exists. And the cameras that customer typically buy for a solution varies from $500 to $1,100. So it's very low cost, normal security camera. And even when they add those camera, we are typically a secondary application on that. The primary application remains security. We became a secondary application on that camera.
For your business, you're specializing in trucking because there are so many cameras everywhere. Does that mean you could really almost do any industry?
Technically, yes.
Is that
Yeah.
the challenge to not do something?
So it goes back to obviously the focus are because it's a very niche uh, portion of any operation. And so we became, obviously we have customers in retail, CPG, food and beverage, and manufacturing. And so that has been our focus because the solution is also very process oriented because it's not just the camera piece that have to adopt. So that one we already saw. Hence, we have mining operation that we automate all the way to a grocery operation. Um, the next step is, okay, so this we sitting in the between all this other supply chain ERP system that they have, with the transportation management system, warehouse, yard, appointment, telematics, reefer management. And so we are sort of the consolidation point between all of them. So all this data come to us because it needs to come to us to operate a yard and a gate. And so, and we have to orchestrate between all of them. So so then the integration become important as well as the process mapping to do. And so over the last 2-3 years, we've been very specialized in retailers and retailer supply network. And that's why you see we cover 30 plus large companies or Fortune 500 companies in that portion of the market. But to your point, yeah, it can be auto manufacturing, it can be any type of manufacturing.
But it's all still for truck check-in and check-out.
So it's still the same process.
So where do you go from here? When you go to a company, do they say this is obvious we should have this, or do they say we're fine with our paper and clipboards? What's their general reaction?
So it's funny, our board members, investors, they always say, why? So is there a reason that the sales cycle is so short? And again, this is an exceptional low sales cycle solution uh, for large enterprises that we talk to across the globe. And so the answer always comes down to, hey, it's a known problem. It's a priority for customers. So we don't have to educate them on this problem exists. And all they have to see a product with a proper vision that they can count on over the next 5 years. And so the question becomes, can they see that in the first half an hour of our conversation with them? And the answer is yes. And so the next step is we have hundreds of sites deployments across North America. And so can they go and just simply visit one or talk to one? And the answer is certainly yes. And that's why it made it very, very easy to understand for our prospects and existing customer that, hey, where we come from and where we stand and where we're going over the next 2 to 5 years.
Once they go, a prospect goes and visit another customer, are they shocked and come back and say, we need this right away?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we see. We had one of the largest, one of the top five grocery retailers in the US visited another one of our operations, not in retail, but in CPG and food and beverage. And they said, look, we have seen Amazon level automation. So Eagle was here, Amazon level automation was here, and then everybody else was here. So that was a very very like a proud moment for myself and my team to be compared with Amazon automation type. And so that's what they told us, and that's what we're very proud of. And to your answer is yes. It's sometimes they say, oh, it's too good to be true. We have to see that. But when they see that, hey, a process that used to take 8.5 minutes, now it's 20 seconds, 30 seconds. A process that used to exchange paper of like a binder of 30 pages, 5 POs and BOLs, is now a QR code, and it's been digitized, and it's been an electronic BOL. And the process that you didn't know who the driver is, now you validate all the driver information. So when they see that and they see all this integration and communication happens within 10 seconds of the total 30 seconds of the gate engagement time, they become a believer.
Well, is this helped in security in terms of tracking the trucks?
It is. So certainly security is a big part of it, because you are controlling the access control, and all this check-in and check-out time happens in the access control. So that's where you enter the perimeter of the building. And so there's not just transportation validation and the paperwork validation needs to be done. There's a lot of security validation needs to be done as well. We have a lot of customers that are CTPAT compliant. So CTPAT is a requirement by the CBP in the US or
What is that?
CBSA. So it's called Custom Trade Partnership Against Terrorism. So that's basically any cross-border shipment. If you want to go faster at the border, it's like a nexus at the border. If you want to move your loads faster, then you agree to do certain inspection in the endpoints, which is your distribution center. And so then in those facilities, the security become much, much more important. And we are the first step of those companies becoming CTPAT compliant. So whether you are CTPAT or not, security is a big part of it, because sometimes the question comes in, okay, what if there is an intrusion to the facility? We going unmanned, we going paperless, what happens, right? And then can the cameras perform other security function like intrusion detection, tailgating detection, all of that? And so you should be able to answer all that question and have a track record of providing some sort of complementary solution like that, in addition to the automation that you provide, to be able to accommodate not just automation, but also security.
You're in Toronto and the Boston area. Why the two markets? Is that just coincidental where you were?
Yeah, it's just we are East Coasters. So, so our head office, our US head office is in Boston, and then our Canadian head office is in Toronto. Yes. Majority of our actual operations are obviously coast to coast, but majority obviously is in the Midwest, in Midwest and the West. But yeah, our teams are core teams are there, but we have 4 offices across North America.
But you're national or global?
We are global, yes. So our main focus has been US market and our US customers, um, and Canadian customers. Because our customers have global operation, we expand globally with our customers, and that includes to UK, to Europe, to Brazil, to Mexico, and India.
So did you ever think, last question, that AI and trucking would go together?
At some point, the AI going to touch any industry. But I was thinking that it's going to touch trucking that early. No, but I'm glad we are in we are leading that piece of that operation and really accelerating that adoption in our segment of the market.
I look forward to watching your AI and your trucking escapades as you go forward. Thank you, Amir. That was fantastic. Thank you all for listening to the Voices of Tech Future. I'm Chuck Martin.
Thank you very much.